What's good with the YouTube? It's Coffee on the vid. Back at it, and man, we're back talking blogger beef, prison YouTuber beef. Although essentially, I guess one of these individuals you wouldn't really call a prison blogger per se, but I don't know, it's an offshoot of it. I know from watching his content, though, he spoke about that he's did his time. He don't brag about it or whatever, you know what I mean? From what I've seen, he blogs on a lot of different topics, from battle rap to the streets to hip hop. And as of late, he's been really going at 1090 Jake.
Even though these guys may not be who they say they are, he prides himself on actually being the real deal, even though he's not. But that's what he prides himself on, because so many people believe that he actually is. Now, the funniest part of this whole situation is the Great White Blood decided to respond to Pino. He decided to respond to King Breezy. He even decided to respond to my homie Josh, R.I.P. Now, of course, he responded to Josh by just cracking jokes and he responded to Pino and Breezy with paperwork. The craziest part is that he did not. You filed for a request. You filed a request for Breezy's movement history, Pino's movement history. You requesting these guys protection paperwork, all of these different things, but you never once filed a request for the paperwork showing that you were actually cut or at least involved in the situation. Even if he didn't have paperwork showing that he was cut, if he had paperwork showing that between October 2nd and October 5th he showed up, he was involved in some type of altercation, it would add some validity to the story. But
how far does this go?
The situation in the prisons is far worse than I think anyone realizes. More and more cases are linking back to suspects in prisons. We know that the use of cell phones in the prisons is far and wide. And we're dealing with suspects that are now orchestrating kidnappings, murders, often the murders of investigating officers from the prisons.
Before you get off the bus, the CEOs are beating the shit out of you. Everybody gets slapped. So they'll tell you, stick your head under your nuts. You got to put your head as far down as you can on a bus. They come through, smack everybody in the back of the head. Lancaster, they take you in the room. Everybody got to strip naked. They go around, slap the fuck out of everybody just to get your attention. They'll tell you, look, we run this shit. Now, if y'all want to go PC, get in this line. If you want to go in the compound, get in this line.
So if you didn't already know, or you probably did, I don't know what, at this point in time I'm titling this video, though, we're talking about Byron Blake versus 1090 Jake. And once again, I'm a fan of both these dudes' content, as so often when it comes to a lot of these content creators. We talk about their back and forth, their bloggers, their beef, if you will. That is the case. I fuck with both of them. That's how it was before, when we were getting a little traction, little, convos we were having about all the different content at hand, until, some of them, certain things came out and they started acting different ways or whatever, kind of coming at Coffee sideways. But everything at this point in time, I guess, is squashed or whatever. But it's really just the trip, man, the way it can flip the script when you're watching certain content creators. And then, if you throw your commentary up, which I always urge anyone and everyone to do, who is like, man, maybe I could make a video. Maybe I should make a video, man. It's the age of the blogosphere. Grab a device, talk your talk, do however you do it, create your content. But it's interesting the way, like, certain cats should be like, yo, like, yeah, I fuck with this individual or that individual. And then, like, when cats get to making videos, the way certain individuals do and the way they act in regards to it all, you be looking at them all different. Like, you know what I mean? They be doing suspect-ish sometimes. And I'm not directing that at any individual, specifically or nothing. I'm just throwing that out there, man. The ish cats do sometimes. You'll be like, man, this individual definitely ain't who I thought that they were. And with all that being said, y'all hear the clip there. That's what Byron Blake has been saying, paraphrasing in my own words, is that 1090 Jake, aka the Great White Blood, as he calls him, ain't who he's been saying he is. As you heard him there talking about, he prides himself on, being the real deal. And he's went over a lot of Jake's content and picked out discrepancies and inconsistencies, he says, about a lot of Jake's content. And ain't it a trip when you see a lot of these videos that he's done, that it's like going back, like there's a different era in the timeline of 1090 Jake content where the channel was just so different, like the early prison stories and such, compared to when he started doing the blogging on news stories and hip-hop stories and snitching ass rappers and stuff like that. It's almost like two different channels. But in his latest video that I took this clip from, he was sharing something from a blog he had did previously, where he was showing that some of the stuff 1090 Jake was saying on the Ian Big Dude's channel was not accurate, and that at one specific prison that he did his bid at, he said he only did 8 days. And with that being said, man, there was a video Jake did a little while back that Byron Blake was referencing in this video as well, where Jake got at the homie hangout dude Josh, which seemed to really kind of rub a lot of people the wrong way. That dude was no longer here, and he was talking about his teeth were as yellow as a fucking 49ers brim. You know what I mean? Saying that dude had buttery gold yellow teeth, man. And then he got at Pino and got at that breezy dude. And speaking of Pino too, y'all, did you guys see in the video where 1090 Jake was saying that with Pino, if you just pull up his time, that he did half the time that he claims that he did? Is that actual factual? Let me know in the comments, y'all. But after that video, I was just like, man, why is Pino and Jake even going at it anymore? As Pino still makes videos aimed at 1090 Jake. But that's kind of besides the point of what I'm getting at in this video. Byron Blake basically was like still saying 1090 Jake's lying, and he was saying he was getting some claims on some older videos that really, in his opinion, seemed to let him know that individuals, Jake was going back over his old catalog looking for anything and everything to flag, and I want to know what y'all think about that Jake flagging Byron Blake's videos, being that from what I've seen, any piece of content that he's used of Jake's, was definitely protected by fair use, as it was his own original content. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just reposting something. He was putting his own spin on it and critiquing and reacting to different clips from Jake's channel. You know what I mean? So he was like, man, this flaggery is hoish. Like, Jake's trying to silence me because I'm, bringing the real on him. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask y'all about. Is at one point in time when I seen him ignoring Byron Blake, I was thinking, okay, sometimes that's the best response, is to ignore individuals. You know what I mean? You don't always have to respond to any and everyone. We've seen that, like I was talking about, how a lot of content creators, the way they get to acting all extra sensitive about what motherfuckers got to say, and you be looking at them like, man, they're definitely different than what I thought. We've seen that, where there's a lot of cats that some could have 10 views and they're tripping and flipping and crying over it or whatever, and it just doesn't really matter or make sense to react that way to any and everything, especially if you done leveled up and got your numbers up and are having a successful channel. You can lower your stock or just make yourself look like you ain't truly on the level that you're on. But now what I'm wondering is what Byron Blake was kind of saying in this video is, yo, you're going over my old ish. You're flagging it. You won't respond to me. You responded to this Pino. You know what I mean? You responded to the breezy dude. And something else he said too, I want to know what y'all think about it, is he's still questioning if the cut on Jake's face really is official, as that kind of seemed to be the big thing that even kind of was the catalyst for Jake creating that video. And I personally always thought all the Photoshop rumors and such were cap about Jake's cut. And I was like, nah. I thought with that video too that Jake proved that the cut was real. But Byron Blake was still questioning it and saying that if it really happened and Jake is able to get all this paperwork and, records of what spots people done did their bid at and where they were moved at and disciplinary reports and all kinds of other. It's like he pulled a lot of shit up on Pino in that video. He was saying, how do you not have some kind of incident report or something related to the cut on the face? And that had me thinking, did Jake fully prove that the cut was official, or are you inclined to think that Byron Blake might be onto something? Once again, as always, anyone tapping into this over here on Coffee Talk, it's just all about hearing what the people got to say. You know what I mean? I don't claim to know it all. I just like to coffee talk it up and have combo with all y'all out there, the good people of the blogosphere. But back to what I was saying, Byron Blake was saying, you know, Jake responded to the dude who ain't here no more, that he was cracking jokes about his teeth. He responded to Pino. He responded to the Breezy dude, which it turns out he, like, according to Jake's video, the Breezy dude was the one that fake cut himself and such. And I heard from another channel out there, you know, where someone was talking about that a chick that worked up in prison spots was saying that's actually a common tactic of individuals that are afraid to be on the front lines and want PC or protection, is to cut themselves to make it look like, you know, they need protection, like pulling a PC check-in move without fully doing it on their own. You know what I mean? Like when individuals are scared, so they get it all loud in front of the police and they do a fake gangster check-in. That's wild, you know what I mean? But he was basically saying, like, Jake's responding to all these dudes, but not Byron Blake. And Byron Blake's been consistently doing numbers, and I see the people in the comments on Jake's videos clamoring for him to respond. And what I heard Byron Blake say is, he seemed to have a theory that the reason Jake hasn't responded to him is because he feels like he's looking for old paperwork or something kind of smut or dirt to pull up on him. And he was saying, you know, that it just doesn't exist. So with all that being said, I ask y'all, you know, what do you think of Jake never responding to Byron Blake? You know, did you feel like, hey, he ain't got to respond to everyone? And, you know, I mean, did you feel what I was saying about sometimes it's best not to respond to everyone? But do you feel like at this point he's got enough traction where he deserves a response? Or do you believe that Jake has been wanted to respond to Byron Blake, but he can't find no dirt on him, so he's just trying to ignore him? You know what I mean? Like, basically saying that he kind of fears him in a blogosphere sense, in a way that he's doing damage to his channel and his come up with all the videos and such. And I don't watch every single 1090 Jake Exposed video, but I've seen quite a few of them. And, you know, for the most part, what I've seen, he comes with some pretty interesting questions. You know what I mean? When I'm saying that, I'm saying this dude just ain't throwing ish at the wall and seeing if it sticks. It seems that he has a bit of substance to what he's talking about, you know? So basically that's what I wanted to tap in with all y'all about out there watching all these videos play out and all these conversations and the content and the prison content creators all these years later. You know, do you think Jake is shook to respond, or he can't find no dirt, so he just won't, or he fears Byron Blake, or just anything else we touched on in this video? You know, because I've been watching as his platform continues to grow, and I don't know, you know, that video where Jake just kind of clapped at everyone, I seen he didn't mention him, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess he's still doing him like Jay-Z always did the game, you know, where Jay-Z never wanted to respond to the game except for one bar on like the Blueprint 3 intro and like a freestyle where he kept saying the word the game wouldn't specifically reference the game. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, is he doing them like that? Or is Byron Blake on to something? You know what I mean? With the video flaggery, you know, Jake flagging his videos and some of the other stuff that Byron Blake was talking about, if he wants to respond or just don't know how, or I don't know, like in this blogosphere beef chess game that they got going, is he got him under pressure? Leave it in the comments, share your thoughts, sub up. It's Coffee, talking music, news, sports, current events, life, and much more. And I'll get with y'all on the next one. Peace.